Hi, I'm Angie Beto, and I'd like to welcome you back to our continuing series, 2009 Your Best Year Ever. And we're really fortunate to be at the Cooper Aerobics Center today with our special guest, Cindy Kleckner, who's a registered licensed dietitian. And Cindy, you've been working at Cooper for how long now?
Off and on for about 20 years.
So,
but I came back about probably 2005, so it's been a nice, couple years.
well, we are delighted that you agreed to be with us today and help us understand a little bit about diet and nutrition. We all know, I think, and would agree that every single year the biggest New Year's resolution has got to be that we're going to lose weight. And I would be one of them this year, so I'm struggling. However, we know that a lot of times people start that process and are not successful. So if we're thinking about that, is there a percentage of people, do you think, that are successful? What would that number be? 1 in 4, 1 in 40?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. I'm really happy to do this for
delighted.
you. Thank you. I think the most important thing is you have to define the word success, first of all. And secondly, there is so little data, or so little statistics on the results as far as, end results of weight loss. But we do know that the statistics are on the rise for obesity.
That's true.
In fact, 66% of U.S. adults are actually overweight or obese.
Wow.
And I think the latest figure is about 5% are actually obese.
No kidding.
So, that leaves a small percentage of people that really aren't able to keep a diet or keep a New Year's resolution. And I look at a resolution as a process, not a one-time thing to make a chance to lose weight. It really is a process. And that's how and the dietitians at the Cooper Aerobics Center really approach nutrition.
So what do you think is the number one biggest mistake that people like me and our readers make?
I think the biggest problem is they use that 4-letter word, diet.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest problem, because what you do is it's a finite, you have a diet, you're on a diet, you're off a diet, and we would like to see you approach it as a lifestyle or shift your thinking into a lifetime instead of just a diet. People also have a problem with establishing unrealistic goals for themselves.
Okay. So if we're trying to lose 50 pounds in 2 months, we're probably going to be disappointed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. In fact, the older we get, the harder it is to burn those calories to lose weight. And so realistically, at 0.8 to 1 pound a week is realistic for most women, and maybe 1 to 1.5 pounds for men, if they do it correctly with eating a positive eating program and exercise.
So I know I've set my sight on, okay, by this period of time, I should be or should have lost 10 pounds or whatever the case may be. So what you're saying is, realistically, we should try to shoot for setting our goal for maybe 1 to 2 pounds a week.
Right. You want to have realistic goals. You want to have short-term and long-term goals. So if your goal is 50 pounds, then you want to break it up into small increments so that you can feel the success.
Got it.
Success breeds success, so then you can move on to the next 5 or 10. And it's also very important to have a plan. Most people go about it and they're really gung-ho first of the year, and then they lose sight of their goal. And I always say failing to plan is planning to fail when it comes to health habits, improving your health habits.
So tell me a little bit more about that planning. Is it writing everything down? What is your philosophy?
Well, when it comes to nutrition, my personal philosophy is in alignment with the Cooper Aerobics Center, and that is that we approach it from a nutrition you can live with point of view.
Okay.
And that means that it's mentally manageable. You're not having to study a diet and read a book and, worry about all these combining and this and that. It's just so important to eat good, healthy, wholesome food. And I find that if people do that and they eat more locally grown food, more fresh food, more whole food, that they typically exercise more restraint.
Okay, so let me ask you one other quick question, and I see you have some food samples here that we can talk about, but I know for myself, I feel confused. Every time you pick up a magazine, or there are a million books out there lately about low carb, low fat is best. You have to really restrict your calories. You don't have to restrict your calories. You have to walk 5 miles a day. I find it, I almost feel like I'm overwhelmed with so much information. So your philosophy, and especially in line with Cooper, is to plan, to eat, make this a lifestyle change.
Yes.
And so obviously by looking at eating some of these types of foods.
Right.
So give us a hint about what that is.
The most important thing when you're thinking about diet is to really approach it from a plate point of view. We call it the plate planning. And what that is 1/4 of your plate should be protein.
And by the way, this is fake food.
We have a piece of salmon.
That's right.
The meat on your plate should never be bigger than the palm of your hand. That is really, a couple times a day, that's all the protein an adult needs. So most people overeat protein. So 1/4.
But we hear so much about eat more protein, eat more protein.
Right.
So you're saying this really is enough.
Right, because most Americans really do get more protein than they need.
No kidding.
Even if they feel they're falling short, they hear these messages, but in actuality, we are over-consuming portions of meat. Now that may be different for an elderly population, but for the general population, if you go out to eat at lunch, you're getting anywhere from 6 to 8 ounces of protein.
Okay.
And at dinner, you can get anywhere from 8 to 12 ounces. And so therefore, you can get 3 days allowance of your food if you're eating out, or 3 days allowance of protein if you're eating out. So if you follow this rule, 1/4 protein, 1/4 starch, this is our brown rice.
Okay.
And then the rest of your plate should be full of color.
Okay.
And if you do that at every meal, then you're getting your adequate needs. Now, let's say it's a sandwich at lunchtime. The same concept would be 1/4 of your plate would be your chicken. This is a piece of slice of chicken on a piece of bread.
It's a little white.
Right, exactly. But you can also do 2 pieces of bread. That would be fine. You want to watch. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to get stingy on starches.
Okay, so that includes all breads and
pasta, rice, noodles, any of that. But the whole plate concept is a little bit of protein, a little bit of starch, and then we load up on our vegetables. We have our tomato and lettuce in the case of a sandwich. And then I might want to also have a piece of fruit with it.
Okay.
Okay? What most people do is they load up on the cheese, and then they put mayonnaise on their sandwich. And end up getting extra calories from fat, and that creates a lot more calorie intake. And for every 100 calories that you put in your body a day, you could potentially gain 10 pounds in a year.
Wow.
If you exceed your intake by 100 calories every day, you can gain that 10 pounds. And so if you're trying to lose weight, what you do is you remove the mayonnaise, you remove the slice of cheese, and that will give you that deficit of 100 calories, which over a year period, you can lose 10 pounds.
It just doesn't seem like these little things can be that many calories, does it? So we probably take that for granted too many times.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's the hidden calories.
Exactly. How important do you feel it is to really get into the exercise mode if we're trying to lose weight?
That's exactly half of the equation.
Okay.
Energy input equals energy output when you're trying to maintain your weight. If you're trying to lose weight, you need to have a deficit of either less intake or increase your calories, increase your exercise to burn calories. Because 3,500 calories equals a pound of fat. If you divide that by 7 days, that is 500 calories a day that you have to have, less per day if you're trying to lose a pound a week.